And we are back. This is Soph.
This is Rich.
And we are from across the pond. What's going down, Soph? How was your weekend?
What's going down? You know what I'm going to say? Same thing I say all the time.
Trying
We
to take over the
are
world, Pinky.
locked down, locked down. Nothing really has changed since Friday. Still going on about the vaccine. Still going on about Corona. One thing I did want to say, I want to say a special shout out and a special message to my very special friend Mason, who's a life coach. He has actually got Corona, and so is his girlfriend Laura. I found out yesterday. So prayers and love to them, wishing them a speedy recovery.
Yes, yes.
Especially because I was due to start my online fitness classes with him tomorrow, and I'm all top, ready to go.
You can do it, and 3 more.
Yeah, I've got to wait another week now because obviously they're not great. So yeah, big shout out to them with the old Big C. Not great.
Yeah.
Great. But yeah, nothing else really has happened in the news apart from that. Apart from me, I love a bit of celebrity gossip, and I forgot to mention some news on Friday.
What was that?
There's 2 parts actually. One is obviously, did you hear that old Dr. Dre's got a brain aneurysm?
Yeah. Ain't that crazy? But I did hear that he's doing well though.
Oh,
he's
good.
doing better.
I did also hear that while he was in the hospital, someone tried to rob his house. I mean, God, what is the world coming to?
What kind of crazy stuff is that? You wouldn't rob the man while he was out because he probably he done got buffed, so he probably would have hurt somebody.
Well, yeah, he would have probably threw a few left hooks, but
well, a couple of years ago, they tried to break into LL Cool J's house, and LL Cool J put the beat down on him.
Well, LL Cool J is my man, so
hey,
allow it. But the other thing is, this was breaking news, not so much now because a couple of days have gone past, but Kim and Kanye are splitting up.
Who cares? I'm so over the Kardashians. The only one I like anyway is Kourtney. So.
Oh no, her voice is so annoying. Khloe's the only good one.
All I know is Kourtney put that beat down on on Kim. She gave her a couple crack.
Oh, you want about the one when they had a fight?
Oh man, did they get that smack on? She said, "Don't you ever crack." and Kourtney said, wait a minute. I'm the oldest. I ain't gonna lose. Crack.
Well, I only mentioned.
And then Khloe's like, "Oh my God, what is going on with you two?"
I only mentioned.
My sisters got it in. They'd have tore that thing up when nobody be doing nothing. We be watching it get it in. Anyway, go ahead.
Thank you. I only mentioned it because it was in the news, and we do discuss news. So, okay, what's been happening in your news?
Well, one of my good friends finally got a home after this whole pandemic mess. He found a home.
Oh, that's good.
Which was a blessing. I went over his house last night. We had a couple of drinks and celebrated for him. And then we got to talking about how we kind of like challenge ourselves. You know, we're like our 40 somethings now, and everybody's, doing their own thing. So I was telling them, hey man, everybody here has a pickup. I really want a pickup. And then come to find out, my one friend was like, I don't have my pickup anymore. So we all looked at him like, well, what did you get here? Where did you come in here? This man bought a Tesla. Oh, we all ran outside like little kids. And all a Tesla is, and this is just my opinion.
Hating now, don't be hating.
Yeah, I'm a little jelly right now, but it's a very nice vehicle, but it's scary to me because inside of it, there's no, you got the console, but the only thing you have is this giant tablet, and that's where everything that's on it is on this tablet. Like where your radio would be that's where a tablet is. And then I mean, you start the car with like a key card, like if you were checking into a hotel. That's how thin it is. But it's super fast and super quiet. I was a little jelly. I was like, now, I'm gonna be honest with you. It ain't my cup of tea. I'm a big boy. I can't be sitting in little cars like that.
on then. What are you hating for?
Mm. I just said I was a little jealous. I wasn't hating. It was really, really nice, but it was just really
Well, listen, it ain't
draining.
too far off before you're gonna go rolling up to these men nights out with your big truck. So
Yeah.
it's out there in the universe.
Yeah, we already put that out there.
Oh yes, coming.
Hmm.
So apart from a new car.
And apart from, what I did over the weekend, um, the news about
You mate?
Trump and his insurrection, they said they're starting the impeachment process tomorrow. They said that it'll probably still go on after after Biden becomes president. So I'm not sure if they ever did a post presidential impeachment.
But hold on, how does that make sense? Because I thought impeachment was to get him out of the house, right?
Now, this is what it does, though. Even though he'll be gone, okay, what happens is the second impeachment keeps him forever running for president again.
Okay.
That's what I think they're doing it for, because he's running around here telling people, well, I'm gonna run again in such and such year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's 2024. He said he's going again.
Guess what? When the impeachment goes through, that's a nay. And it's just sad that no one, when you know how you have his supporters think he's the best thing since sliced bread. Well, I hate to inform them that because of this, you know, insurrection on the Capitol, no one will remember any of the good that he's done. They'll just remember that his name will be attached to that. And it's a sad way to go out. And like I said before in the beginning, all he had to do is just, he didn't really have to concede. He could have just said, all right, he won fair and square. Now that his name is tagged onto this stuff, he still ain't. I mean, he tried to fix it, but it was a little too late, too little too late, so to speak, but didn't turn around in the same breath goes, oh, this is just the beginning. After you said that you were going to punish all these people, but then say in your same breath, oh, this is only just the beginning.
Yeah,
So
contradiction.
it's a wrap for him.
Um,
I wish him the best, but I'm telling you, this ain't over. When you mess with the Capitol, this ain't over for him or his family. So I just pray for him, because that's an ugly situation you put yourself in. They're going after everybody that stood on that podium before the millions of people marched down to the Capitol. They're going to deal with every last one of them. And hey, let's see if Trump will help you then.
mhm.
Let's see if we can make the jail great again. Maybe the jail system, prison system, you can make that great again. I don't know.
Anything else in your news?
Other than that, good.
Okay, well, before we get on with our serious Sunday topic, I just want to reiterate, like I feel like we do on every show, these shows are just our opinion. Like, I've had messages like, why do you keep hating on Boris Johnson? You know, who would you have run the country if not him? At the end of the day, my opinion is he didn't do what he should have done months ago. The evidence is there, you know, and yes, you can say he's doing what people tell him to do, but he's in charge of the country. Sort it out. And he doesn't know what he's doing. And if he's getting told what to do, they don't know what they're doing. So my opinion is, you can. I'm not blaming him for Corona, but I'm blaming him for not running the country correctly or putting the people first and doing what he should have done in the beginning. That is my opinion. Hell, who would I have run the country instead? Man, let me in 10 Downing Street for a week. I'll shake it up. I don't care. But it's just my opinion.
You could though. You could, but
I'm sure I'd do a damn sight better job than him.
I don't know. It's a lot. There's a lot that comes with being the prime minister, and there's a whole lot that come with being a president. So, like I said, in the beginning, I'm not a Trump hater. I just feel like he handled a lot of situations wrong. He had the right people in his corner in the beginning, but I just think he let the power go to his head and it got out of control. He let it get way out of control. And when he lost, it was kind of like poor sportsmanship, kind of. You know what I mean? It's like when you lose, like in any sports, when you lose, you either shake hands and call it a day, but he's one of them dudes that'll haul off and steal you. After you done won the fight, he'll come over and punch you in the face.
But do you know the thing is, I totally believe actions speak louder than words, and his actions, Trump's actions, are definitely supporting what you've just said about him, that he's a sore loser. So what else is there to say?
I mean, when you incite a riot, that's beyond sore loser.
He was asking for trouble.
I don't mean to laugh.
No.
This man is off his rocker.
Anyway, serious Sunday.
Serious
No.
serious Sunday.
Serious Sunday. So
All
we are going to talk about parenting. Now,
Yes.
me and you are both parents.
Mhm.
We've both been single parents. We've both been step parents. We've both been parents when the other parent is there, you know.
Mhm.
So, like we just said, we're going to give our insight, experience, opinion on parenting. Because let's be honest, when you become a parent, there ain't no handbook, there ain't no right or wrong answer.
There's no directions. There is no directions to being a parent. You're absolutely right.
And I totally think you have to do what's best for you and your child. And what's best for you and your child isn't necessarily what's going to be best for the next person or the person down the street or you or them, you know.
Everybody's situation is different when it comes to parenting.
Totally agree. Every single child is different.
I agree.
I will say, in my personal opinion, I do think that being a step parent is a damn sight more difficult than being a parent. For the simple fact is, you get the whole, you're not my mum, you can't tell me what to do, you know. So it's a bit of a, you know, there's a
It's
bit.
a two-sided, it's a two-sided coin when it comes to stuff like that. When I was married to my kids' mother, um when I was married to my kids' mother, I married her and she had already had two children, and they were 3 and a couple weeks old, and by two different guys. And I was young, she was young. And at that point in time, the gentlemen weren't involved in the kids' life at all. Like I talked to both of them before me and her even got married. And, you know, but we made decisions together where she was like, I'm gonna handle their dads or whatever. And I talked to both their dads and I explained to them that no matter what the decision is made, because now I'm out of it. Like me and her had a conversation and I told her that, like, I love them just like they were mine, yada, yada, yada. And she talked to them. And then, me, I talked to them and I just made it plain to them that no matter what goes on between me and her, when you knock up on this door, those boys will know exactly who you are. You know what I mean? Like you can't come and be like, I'm Uncle so and so, or I'm your mom's friend. Nah, they're gonna know who you are. Period. So that was cool because of the simple fact of the matter is they weren't involved.
Mhm.
And then later on, we had two more children, which were my sons, and you kind of prepare yourself because, like, I come from a big family, and there's a lot that comes with having different daddies. When it comes, I have all boys. When it comes to having all boys, because you know why? Kids are vicious when they're young, especially if they're arguing. I've heard conversations where like that's why you don't know. I hate to laugh, but when they were kids, they used to go at each other. And, you can, and sometimes to me as a parent, sometimes you have to let your kids experience stuff. You know what I mean? Like my son was like, well, that's why you call my dad your dad, or that's why you don't know who your dad is, or you know what I mean, stuff like that. And then you like get in the middle of it, like, don't do that,
Mm.
don't do that, because at the end of the day, y'all gonna need each other. And you know, as they got older, they got to understand that, like, okay, you know, yeah, this is dad. You know what I mean? And then, like you said, it is hard to parent kids that aren't yours.
Mm. I mean, you were lucky, I think, because your ex-wife's children were very young when you entered into a relationship with her. When I got with Alfie's dad, he already had a son that lived with him, and I think he was 9 at the time,
Mhm.
and his mum used to come and see him once a week. Um, and it was almost like everything was fine until after the mum had visited, and it was almost like she would just stir up the pot. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm. Mhm.
And I'm not going to lie, at some point I almost felt like there was 3 of us in the relationship. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because for whatever reason, Alfie's dad would never say no to her. Do you know what I mean? If she needed fetching here, there, and everywhere, if she needed something, he would do it. He would do it. Oh, well, it's Joshua's mum. Joshua's mum. To me, there's only so much you can use that as an excuse. She's a grown woman. Do you know what I mean? She can
Mhm.
go here, there, and everywhere by herself, you know. And yeah, like I said before, his son would say a few times, "You're not my mum. You can't tell me what to do. I hate you." You know, that's because he's not used to discipline. Do you know what I mean? Or
Mhm.
like someone to, I'm not going to allow somebody to be rude or be naughty without at least saying, "Hey, man, come on, that's not how you do things, and that's not correct." He's not
Mhm.
used to hearing that, so obviously he's going to be like, "You're not my mom. You can't tell me what to do. I hate you." Do you know what I mean? And I'm not going to lie. It's like a kick in the guts when you're there for this child. He's not your child. You didn't give birth to him, but like you say, you treat him like he's your own. You feed him, clothe him, house him, drive him, take him wherever he needs to do, pay for him, whatever.
Mhm.
Things that his mother should do but doesn't. And
Mhm.
then obviously he turns around and says, "You're not my mum. You can't tell me what to do." It is a bit like a kick in the guts, but um, hey, I mean,
Uh,
he was young. Would he still say that now? I don't know, but
I'm gonna tell you, when me and my kids' mother separated, okay. Now, when my kids started getting older, then their dads start showing up a little bit more. My one youngest son's father starts showing up a little more, and um, but I prepared myself for that conversation. I prepared myself for, like, you know, when him and his mom would beef, she would call me and I would talk to him. He was like, well, you know, you kind of, and he didn't say it like, oh, well, you're not my dad. You know what I mean? He was kind of like hesitant in a way. And he was like, well, you know, you kind of like not my dad, you know, like I talk to my dad. And I go, that's fine and simple. That's fine. I understand that. But I practically raised you. And one thing you're not going to do is disrespect your mother as long as I live.
mm-hmm.
So, you know, so even though, because they were older, even though they understood that I wasn't their father biologically, they still gave me that respect as a father.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because they still, even to this day, I don't know how they feel about me now because of a whole lot of stuff that went on. But I still look at them as my sons, and they're older now. They're like in their 20s.
But I think maybe the respect came because, like, when you first said that, I thought to myself, well, is that right for their mum to be contacting you if there's an issue after you've left the house? But maybe that is what helped as regards to giving them the respect because they saw, oh my God, she's coming to you if
Mhm.
she needs advice or help or whatever. So
Mhm.
that's where the respect come from. Maybe that's the issue with me. Like Alfie's dad, I felt wouldn't have my back. Do you know what I mean? So
Mhm.
maybe that's why his son felt, do you know what? It doesn't really matter what I say to her or how it goes because my dad don't care, so I don't care, you know. I'm not saying that's the case. I'm just trying to look at it like from an overall point of view. Do you know what I mean?
Now, now, what I can say was really hard for me was that when she started dating again,
Okay.
okay, now she was engaged at one point in time. And it was really hard for me because of the simple fact of the matter is when it was when me and her got together, their daddies weren't involved in the kids' life for numerous of years. Like they now, as they got older, they started partaking, but they automatically knew that I was daddy. Okay. But the problem I had, now I am on the outside, and you got this other man,
Mm-hmm.
taking, I guess, assuming the role that I was in the home. I had a difficult time with her, and I don't know if she did this or not because I wasn't there, but I feel like if like say you're involved in your child's life and another person comes in to that relationship, I think it should be known that, hey, he got a daddy. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I feel as though if you guys are just dating, disciplining my child is a no-no.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I feel like if anything, and I've been in situations with women, and where they have children where like I ain't in the business to put my hands on someone else's child. But if I'm married to her, you know what I mean, and I'm in that household, then I assume that role as the authoritarian,
Mm-hmm.
disciplinarian. So therefore, like, I'm not gonna let you disrespect me or your mama. Now, she's my wife now, not my girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
She's my wife. So that being said, I had a really hard issue with disciplining my child because I'm still involved in my child's life. Like if he's giving you a hard time,
Mm-hmm.
giving you and his mom a hard time, I think it's only fair that I be involved in this three-part conversation because yet, even though you guys are engaged, you guys are not married yet. And guess what? They didn't get married. You see what I'm
Was that
saying?
the case? Were you involved in the conversation or not?
Not in the beginning
Okay.
until I kind of like I had to like bring it up. Like me and him kind of got into it to the point to where like I had to put them all on speakerphone and express how I felt. Like, check this out. I understand that, you guys are together. I understand that you guys are getting married or whatever the case may be. Now, this is my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, but I'm involved in my kids' life. They know who I am. So for you to just like, nah, I don't feel cool with that. I don't feel comfortable with that. But not to say that once you guys become married, that means you officially in that house. Like, y'all going to be with each other for the long haul. So guess what? I got to respect the decisions that y'all make in that home because I'm not in that home anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That's still my child. You know what I mean?
I see what you mean. Like after me and Alfie's dad separated, I'm not gonna lie, it was my decision. But yeah, when he came to dating again, I I don't know, like you said, it's a thought of having like at the end of the day, as far as I'm concerned, Alfie's got one mum and one dad. And so when his dad was like, okay, I'm actually moving in with her now. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, right, well, A, where are you moving to? Because I need to know where my son's gonna be. B, I want to meet her because I need to know who's gonna be around my child. You're moving X amount of like hour and a half, 2 hours down the road. Where's he gonna be? I need to know A, in case of emergency, and B, who is this woman? Who is this woman you're expecting me to just give my child over to? Do you know what I mean? Every other week for a weekend. And he was just like, yeah, you can meet her, you can meet her. So then it got to, he had Alfie the weekend before he was going to move, and she was there at the house at his house for the weekend, which I didn't know about. So then he was like, okay, I'll drop Alfie back on Sunday. And I said, is she going to be in the car? Nothing against her. I don't know the woman, never met her before in my life, so nothing against her personally. And I said, well, is she going to be in the car? And he was like, yeah. I said, well, don't you think it would be a good idea for her to come to the door then so I can at least meet her because you're moving in with her tomorrow. So next time Alfie comes to you, he's going to be in her house. He was like, okay, makes sense. So anyway, she came to the door. His dad was a bit shifty, looking very awkward. I don't know what he thought I was going to say, but, and I just said to her, listen, Alfie is my life, and Alfie's autistic, so he can't. His speech is really minimal. This is the other thing I have. Alfie's speech is really minimal. Now, if he was like me and you and could speak normally, would I be as overprotective? Probably not, because when he came home, I could say to him, "Did you have a good weekend? What did you do?" Do you know what I mean? And he could tell me. At this precise second in time, he can't tell me. So,
Yeah.
and until he gets his voice, I'm going to be his voice. That's how I look at it. So I just
Hmm.
said to her, he finds it difficult sometimes with strange people in strange places. So, this is why I wanted to meet you, because it might be difficult for him, and she was like, "Oh, I get that, he's your son, I totally understand that, blah blah." And I said, "I'm not being funny. I will message his dad during the day and ask if he's okay." He gets annoyed with it sometimes. I don't really care, because I want to know, is my son okay? Do you know what I mean? And until he can tell me himself, I'm going to ask, And she was, to be fair, she was very pleasant. She was like, "Oh, you can come round, come for a cup of tea. You can see the house." I was like, "There's no need to go that far. I will take the address because I want to know where he is." She was like, "You can even have my number if you want. So in case you can't get hold of his dad, feel free to message me, call me, whatever. That's fine. Alfie comes first." And I was like, "Okay, fine."
Well, you know what? I had a total different um situation when it came to my kids. And the dude that she was with, well, a couple of the dudes she was with, because I think in her eyes, I think she felt like, and this is just my opinion, I just felt like she felt like, because when I came into the picture, like the dads weren't involved. So she just felt like, I wasn't going to be involved,
Okay.
which was a different situation. So the thing that, and the difference between your situation and mine is my kids could talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I would call and I would specifically talk to them. Like me and her mom really didn't have too much of an interaction, but my kids was telling me all kind of stuff. Like this dude was talking like, "Well, dad, he said when he see you, he gonna do this and do that to you." And I was like, really? Like, I've never met the man. Like, and I used to always tell my kids, like, look, that's all talk, son. That man's never met me. I never met him. I don't have anything bad to say. Just don't be disrespectful. That's all I ask. And then they would tell me repeatedly, "Oh, dad, he said when he see you, he gonna do this and he do that." That's one thing I did not like. I did not like that. And I don't know if this is what guys do to kind of seem like they want to be the protector to get close to the woman and try to seem like, the authoritarian. And I kid you not, when I met that man, like me and her was like, we were like really wasn't speaking. You know what I mean? So when I actually got a chance to meet them, my dad, I'll never forget it because it was funny, because there was a situation that happened. I'm not going to go into it, but I talked to him face to face. I mean, not face to face, on the phone. And I explained to him how I felt when it comes to my children, all four of them. If there's a situation that's out of hand, I'd rather you tell their mom. And if you feel as though she's not reciprocating what you're trying to explain that's going on with the children, then my phone is always on. And then all three of us can talk about it. Now, when you get married, that's something totally different. That's between y'all, and that's y'all's home. You dig? So my kids used to come up for the summer, and I'll never forget it. I was hotter than fish grease. And my dad was like, I said, "Dad, she's coming up here." And she was like, "Oh yeah, so and so's with me." And I said, "Oh, perfect." And and the thing about being a parent, you want to show your kids the right way to do things.
Mm.
So, I bit my tongue. I didn't say nothing rude. I didn't say anything bad. All my kids was in the car and my two youngest were being dropped off. So this guy gets out the car. I look at him, he looks at me. And now you gotta remember all the stuff he was telling my kids when he see me, what he was going to do to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at him like, "Hey, what's up?" And he was like, "Hey, what's up?" And the only thing he said was, "Man, them boys look just like you." And I'm looking at him like, yeah, they're mine. I helped make them." You know what I mean? And that was it. And I was like, "Hey man, could you put their stuff in that truck right there?" And he was just like, "Cool." I shook his hand, and that was it. And then my sons was like, "Dad, I said, see, that's why I try to tell you guys, look. sometimes people just talk to be talking,
Mm.
just to try to make themselves bigger than what they are. And I feel as though when you get in a relationship, a new relationship, I think there should be some type of conversation that should be brought up, because there are guys out here who really love their children. I can't speak for all guys, but I can speak for guys who, hey, the relationship didn't work, but we have children together and we got to make this thing work for them.
Mm-hmm.
Not for you, not for me, but for them. And I feel as though that's when it becomes difficult, when you have, when you become, a step parent, or you're dating a woman, or, you're going to marry a woman who has kids already.
But I've totally always 10,000% said, I will not bring a man to my house or let a man come to my house unless I think or I know it's a serious relationship and it's actually going somewhere. Because, not, not being rude, I'll probably get shot. But, there's some women who like, oh, I'm with this guy one week, with another guy the next week, another one. Oh, it didn't work out, so I'm with another one. And their kids are like, oh yeah, mum's friend was around. Oh, mum's friend. Mum's got a new friend. Mum's got a new friend. I would hate to be one of them mums. So nobody's coming to my house. I don't even care if my son's not here. The reason
Mhm.
why is because if you invite someone around, so I'm like, oh yeah, come around for coffee. He might just be like, oh, I'm going to randomly turn up one day just to see if you're home to say hi. And my son's here. And I'll be like, nah. So no one's coming to my house, and 10,000% nobody is meeting my son unless I know it's serious and it's going somewhere. And funny enough, one of my friends said to me once, you shouldn't be like that. It's not whether someone comes round, it's how you act in front of them with Alfie. So say if I said, okay, fine, come round for coffee,
Mhm.
I'm not going to be sitting on the sofa lipsing up with somebody, kissing them, do you know what I mean, in front of him. She was like, people are going to come in and out of your life all the time, so I think that you're going a bit too far. And I was like,
I
nah.
think I think people don't understand that kids are smarter than people think. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? Like, they ain't slow. Kids aren't slow at all. You
Okay,
know?
so juggling the difference then between being in a relationship with your ex-wife and both parents being in the same house to going to being a single parent, what how did you find that?
I'm gonna tell you right now, from a man's point of view, it was crazy hard.
What, being a single parent or being in a relationship?
A single parent is hard. I give kudos to all single moms. I give kudos to all single dads. My kids are now, they're self-sufficient, they're off doing their own thing. You know what I mean? But I kid you not, it is totally different when you have a mom and dad in the house versus just being one parent. And this is just my opinion.
Mhm.
Okay. When you have a woman and a man in the house, the woman is the comforter. The
Mhm.
man is the disciplinarian. And what I mean by the disciplinarian, like if he's too out of control, daddy is the one that's going to tap that tail. Daddy is going to be the one to say no.
Mhm.
And then mom is the one who's going to be the comforter. Like if I discipline him, she's going to be the one to go, now look here, it's going to be okay. Just try not to do that no more, or your daddy won't tear your tail up. You
Mhm.
just, you know what I mean? But when you got to play disciplinarian and comforter, that is hard work.
Mhm.
And then on top of that, women do things totally different than dudes. And I'll give you just an example. When I was when I was married and I had my kids, I'll never forget it. My kids, when babies are born, you don't cut their hair right away. Okay. My ex-wife used to wait for the kids to go to sleep, and she would Allen Iverson braid their hair up real nice. I mean, it'd be looking pretty. She went away for like 3 weeks, and I had the kids and I had to take them to the nursery, and all I could do was like Afro puffs, pop, 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 pop. And I just took them to the daycare. And the lady was like, oh, where is their mama? I was like, their mama is away and I don't know. And you know what I mean? It was just, it was nice enough to have, the daycare was like hooking my kids' hair up. Cause I'm telling you, hair was all over the place. And I was just like, oh, mommy's not here. Let me do this. And I couldn't wait for him to get a haircut because I was like, it was killing me. But then when I had my kids on my own, I learned a lot being a single parent
Mhm.
because at first, and I'm gonna be real, at first, I was playing the competing game. Like, uh, I would take them to the movies. They were like, "Well, mommy gets us popcorn," and I'll be like, "Well, then y'all get two popcorn." And so with me, then you know what I mean? Or mommy takes his hair. Well, then I'm gonna take your hair twice a week. Then you know what I mean? And then but then I started getting out of character. Like that's not me. That's not how I do things. And then when it came to shopping, I am like kryptonite. Shopping is like kryptonite for me. So like I would I'm thankful that I have a big family because I would call my sisters, I would call friends of mine that were females that had kids and be like, look here, I need help because I don't know like T this and P that and what size shoe and it was hard work. So I give kudos to single parents because I don't think people really understand what you have to go through being a single parent because you're there 24/7.
And
You don't have that tag team, like, say like when I was married, it was kind of like split. Like, I took care of the schooling, she took care of the home stuff. We both took care of bathing them. You know what I mean? We all went, we all did certain things that kind of kept the family together. So when it's just me, I was just like lost. When I had them, I used to have them for the summer, and then her mom she worked overseas. So I ended up having them full time. And I kid you not, it was not like when I had them for the summer. When the summer, all I did was spoil them and sent them right on back with school supplies. When summer was over and they had to go to school, that means I was going to work, coming home, making sure homework was done, schoolwork, make sure they was getting a bath. Then they got to do chores. Then they got to get a haircut. All their jeans are getting small. I got to run and get jeans.
Mhm.
Oh, they need lunch made. Then they got to buy snacks. And you know what I mean? It's a lot. And then you still got to do what you have to do, like put gas in. You got to get the car, tuned up. You got to go to work.
Yeah, but this is the thing. When you become a parent, what you want, stroke what you need, sometimes is put on a back shelf to make
Mhm.
way for your children. Like I don't get me
Agreed.
wrong, I wanted the whole 9 yards, house in the country, car, dog, 2.4 kids, husband, whatever. No one, okay, I can't say no one, but I personally didn't willingly get into a situation to have a child with someone to not be with them, to be a single parent. Do you know what I mean? My,
No one does though.
my mum was a single parent. Um, but that was never my plan in life. However, that's how it turned out. But you're right. Not only are you a mum, you're a part-time dad, because when you're the only person there, you're a mum, you're a dad, you're a housekeeper, you're a chef, you're a taxi driver, you're a hairdresser, you're a psychologist, you're
Oh man.
whatever else comes with it. You are literally, you have to have so many different hats on. And like you, like we get up in the morning, I'm not going to lie, at a ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous time. We get up in the morning, so then the day starts. You've got the breakfast, get the school lunch ready, get the uniform ready, get him to school. Now I've got a 6 hour window while he's at school to do work. Right now it's weird how it works, because I drop him to school and think, right, I've got 6 hours, I'm going to do this and this. I look away from for 10 minutes, look at my watch and think, blast it, I got to go and collect him in half an hour. Where's the day gone? But there's a six
Yes.
hour window to do work or to do shopping or to do whatever it is you need to get done. Then you pick him up from school, you come home, you do homework, you do the dinner, you do a bath, bedtime routine. He's in bed. By this time, you are knackered, but you still got to tidy up after dinner. You got to put everything away. Me personally, because I work for myself, I try and work in the evening. So therefore, then
Mhm.
I've got to work. Before you know it, midnight's here. Blast it. Oh, better go to bed.
Mhm.
So you get
I'm
washed
gonna
up,
tell
go
you,
to bed, start the same thing again the next day.
I think the most challenging part um, when you have a child who has an illness or, like you said, a disability, because, like I said, my son had got diagnosed with cancer when he was like, I think 13, maybe 12 or 13. And it threw a monkey wrench in everything. Now, just granted, their mom is working overseas. My oldest is playing basketball, going to work, going to school. Now, on top of me going to work, making sure they're eating, making sure Richard is having a normal teenage, you know what I mean, situation. Now, I'm running this kid to the doctors. I'm spending the night in the hospital. I gotta go to work. Then he couldn't go to school because of the chemo. So then I had to get a nanny. I had to get, teacher to come to the house and teach him. It was a lot, but we got through it. And
Hmm.
I learned a lot. You know what I mean?
But this is what I mean. You do get through it. Anything that you want or need gets put on a back burner, and your kids come first.
Hmm.
Um, I'm gonna say, if someone was to say to me, what is the hardest thing about being a parent, for me is sleep deprivation. That is the one. Like, my mum will tell you, I love sleep. Remember, I told you the story about Christmas Day when I shouted at my sister to get out. I love sleep. And I remember being pregnant and her saying to me, how are you going to hear your baby in the night? Because you're like a rock when you sleep. You are literally don't hear anything. And I was like, it'll be fine. Now, obviously, as a parent, your subconscious brain kicks in, right? You could be dead to the world. If your child grunts, you hear it. I don't care what anybody says. Your subconscious
Yes,
brain kicks in. So
I
I
agree.
didn't have any problems there. But yes, sleep deprivation has got to be the most hardest thing about being a parent, I think. Because
You know what I want to
tired,
say?
even when you're tired and hanging out of your ass, you still have to get up and show up every day regardless.
Every day. I think the challenge that I had in the parenting field was co-parenting. It was really hard because she looked at life differently than how I looked at it. And then like it was kind of like they would go with their mom and then they would come back like totally different kids to where like I had to like reprogram. I'm like, yo,
Exactly.
we
I,
don't do that
I,
here.
I totally agree with that.
We, we don't do that here. I used to go off. We don't do that here.
It's
And you
almost
know what my
like,
father told me a
mm,
long time ago? I used to be livid, and I used to call my dad, and be like, "Look here, Dad, this is what's going on. I'm about to bring him over the house. You tell me what you think." You know what I mean? And you know what my dad sat there and told me? He was like, "This is what you do. First of all, you need to stay out of her house. That's what you need to do." And I was like, I didn't know what he meant. He says, "Stop worrying about what's going on in her house." I was like, "I'm not worried about her in her house. I'm worried about my kids." He says, "No, you're not. You're worrying about what's going on in her house." And I was just like, I don't get what you're saying. So I'm just like, I'm not buying it. But what he told me, and it helped, it
mm,
really did. He says now, y'all are both, you're their dad, and that's their mom. What she does with them, that's her business. Okay. What you just have to do is do what you're supposed to do when they're in your care. So if they say like if she's in their care, as long as she's not killing them, they ain't losing no limbs, you know what I mean? They come to you, they're healthy. You might not think they look a certain way, or you might think they might not act a certain way. Well, guess what? When they're with their mom, you let them be with their mom.
I get what he's
When they're
saying,
with
but
dad, when they're with me, then you do what you know it's right to do.
I get what he's saying, but I feel like it's almost putting you back to square one. Do you know what I mean? When you do everything a certain way and then they go off to their other parent, come back, they've almost undone the work that you've done and you've got to start again.
And see, you know what? That's why I feel like when you have kids and the relationship doesn't work out, I think there's a part of you that even though things didn't work out, you got to put your differences aside
Mm,
and start thinking about the child.
mm,
Did I have that? I want to say partially. I'm not going to say she just like, I mean, towards the end, I have my own opinion. That's a whole nother story. But in the beginning, I think it was more or less we did have a great conversation. We did communicate. We did work together. But then when you don't, when that falls through, then it becomes ugly. And the people, nobody wins in the situation. The problem happens is now who gets affected is the child.
Mm.
Because now it's like you got the one, not in my situation, but you got the one parent that's so mad at the other parent that they use the child to get back at them because they have no other means of being mean to that parent. So they
Yeah, no,
use the
I don't
child.
like people who use their child as a
Yeah, they
point.
use the
Of,
child and then
you know,
and then you know what I mean? And then the communication stops, the teamwork stops. It's kind of like now we're both on our own. You know what I mean? And it's a sad thing to deal with because I tell you, I dealt with that towards the end of my kids is rearing up. You know what I mean? Rearing up when we could have been more mature on both ends. You know what I
I
mean? More
get that.
mature
I
for the
mean,
child.
me and Alfie's dad communicate for Alfie's sake. You know,
Mhm.
we don't have any communication other than that. But I do feel like sometimes it's a bit like good cop, bad cop. Do you know what I mean? Somebody's always got to play the bad cop, and it is always me, which gets annoying. But that's just how it is. At least I know, like, I'm not being big headed or blowing my own trumpet, but I know I'm a damn good mom. I know that for a fact. If that means I've got to be a bad cop sometimes, I'll be a bad cop because I know I'm a good mom. But let me ask you this much. What do you think about smacking your child?
Discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is how I feel
Okay,
about
not just
discipline.
discipline, because discipline could be like grounding them, making them sit on the naughty step. I'm on about what do
You
you
just
think
talking
about
about busting that ass.
slapping your child? Yeah, because over here, God, it must have been, it was before Alfie was born. So I'm probably talking a good 10 plus years ago. It's illegal for you to smack your child.
Yeah.
I don't know
What
what
do
it's
you
like.
mean? Like open hand on their ass, or excuse my language, on their tail, or
It's
just like
point blank, it's
smack them
illegal
too?
for you to slap your child, which to
Mm,
me, when I was growing up, my mum slapped my backside, my mum slapped the back of my legs. Do you know what I mean?
mm,
And I think I turned out okay. Um,
mm.
these like youths, kids nowadays that don't have discipline or anything like that, they're running a bit wild. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying literally beat your child, but I personally don't think there's anything wrong with a tap on the back of the legs. Like, for example, I remember when we was younger, I was probably about, I don't know, 9, 10. My sister was about 11, 12. She got into trouble, right? My sister, as she always did. My mum said to her, I'm going to give you two choices. Either I slap you, obviously on the bum, or you're going to be grounded for a week. You know what my sister said? Or ground me for a week. I said to her, you're crazy. If you just let mum give you a slap on the bum, you could be running outside in like 5 minutes. It'll be over with just like that. And she was like, no, I'll be grounded for a week. I'd much rather blop on the backside, off you go out to play.
Well, I'm gonna just give you two scenarios. Biblically, they say you spare the rod, you spoil the child for life. That means if you don't discipline your child when they're young, when they get older, they're gonna get out of hand.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but in my situation, I'm gonna tell you, it was really wild towards the end of my kids' rearing up. Here in the state of Pennsylvania, it's not illegal to discipline your child as long as you're not punching them. Now, if you're spanking them on the tail, that's it. But if you're leaving like bruises or punching them, or you know what I mean, they walk into school with like a black eye, then you know what I mean, that's something totally different. But I always, um, when I used to discipline my children, it's a degree. It's one of those things where like I'm not just going to beat you just for the sake of beating you. But when I did discipline my children, I would always explain to them why they getting disciplined. I've never just beat them for the sake of beating them. But then I'm a type of person too, though. Like if I discipline you, it's over. See, because I remember, years ago, man, you get a you get your tail tore up, and then like they still talking about it. Like, yeah, I had to beat him like you this morning because he was doing this and that. And you're like, well, damn, man, that was like this morning. Why are you still talking about it? You know what I mean? And in my eyes, and if I punish you, then there is no spanking you because I don't believe in like to me, I feel like it's excessive. Like if I'm gonna spank you, then I'm gonna spank you, and then we're gonna go get ice cream or go to the movies or whatever the case may be. But if I'm gonna discipline you, then if like the the discipline has to fit the crime. That's how I feel.
Hmm.
Like like one thing I didn't like, and that was school. I'm really stickler on school, and I'm a type of person where like if a teacher's calling me, and this is just how I am, that means if a teacher's calling me, that means I'm not on their side, but you're a representation of me when you leave here.
Hmm.
So if you're not going to do it at home, don't do it at school.
Hmm.
And I feel like if you're going to go to school, that means, and like we've all been to school before, and that's some things kids don't seem to understand that like I was once 13, I was once 12, you weren't 44, but I was 12, I was 10, I was 11, and I know what kids do. So to me, when a teacher would call and tell me, hey, this is what's going on, we're going to have a talk
Hmm.
because I feel like if a teacher's calling me, that means A, she don't already talk to you more than once. Two, she probably gave you a warning and was just like, yada, yada, yada. And three, you just kept on doing it like she ain't going to do nothing. She probably just got tired of it because you got other kids to take care of. So when they call me, that means I was that last resort. So we're going to fix that. But then also, I think parents should do, and I feel, and this is just me, if you're going to discipline, then you need to reward them too. Like you just can't discipline your child every time they're doing something bad. When they're doing good, you need to put the same energy
Well,
in
yes,
rewarding
balance.
them. Yeah, you got to put the same energy in rewarding them as the same energy you putting in when you got to discipline them. Do I like disciplining my kids? Nah. But I used to always tell my kids it's hard for me to say no to you if you doing what you're supposed to do.
But the thing is, I do feel like kids nowadays have got, not all kids, let me get that out there, but a majority of these youths like hang around on street corners where they've got zero respect for not only their parents but adults in general. Like when I was younger, I remember thinking, man, there's no way I'm even going to attempt to do that because of what my mum might do if she found out. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm,
Or
mhm.
if we did do something, you'd go to do it. Just the look. If your mum gave you the look, do you know what I mean? You'd be
Oh
like,
yeah.
oh my God, it's going
Oh
to go
yeah.
down. You didn't, never mind getting slapped on the backside. You didn't want the look because you knew, boy, you best be prepared because it's going to go down.
Man, man, I'm gonna tell you, my dad's favorite lines were because I have a twin and I miss him to death. God rest his soul. Man, we used to get in so much trouble. And then they would call my pops at work. And rule number one in our house when we was coming up, don't call my job unless it's an emergency. So when they call, you just be like, and my dad was famous for going, put Richard on the phone. I just be like, oh my God. Oh my God. And I get on the phone and he go, first thing he'll ask you, are you all right? And I'd be like, yes, sir, but you don't understand what's going on. Like, and I try to get everything I could before he said his magic words. Well, we'll talk about it when I get home. You hand the phone back and your butthole just pucker up, just be like, ooh, your heart drop into your stomach. You just like, here, sir. And I tell my brother, I'd be like, yo, he said not to go nowhere. He gonna talk to us when he get home.
But this is the thing: if you're saying that to a youth nowadays, they'll probably swear, be like, "F you, F my mum, I don't really care," blah 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 blah. And I'm like, why?
Nah,
And
nah,
to me,
nah.
it's literally the last two generations that are like that. Alfie's dad's oldest, well, his other son, he is now 20. That generation and the one after him. I'm praying to God Alfie is not in, that uh, remit. But yeah, I don't know what's happened to him. Like I said, when we was younger, we would be scared. God, if my mum found out when I get home, I am going to get it. Whereas now, it's almost like they just don't care. And is
I
that
lived in
because the
detention.
discipline was taken away from the parents and they can't discipline them? What happened?
I'm telling you, detention was like a second home for me because they just be like, "Do you want detention? Do you want me to call your dad? I'll take detention.
Oh, hell
Um,
no. I was never getting.
detention right away, please." Yeah, my dad be like, "Where were you?" I was in detention, Dad. I don't know what I was doing, just because. My dad be like, "You need to fix that. You need to work on that." And I just be like, "Thank
Listen, I was never getting detention because if I had to go home and tell my mum I had detention, boy, you wouldn't be seeing me for at least a month. There was no way.
you." Now, see, you know what? Back in the day, um, punishment used to be different. Like my dad used to put you on punishment, then never told you when you was getting off.
When you say punishment, what do you mean? Like you wasn't allowed outside?
Yeah, like he'd be like, "Go to your room," and we just be like, "All right, you be in your room forever." You just be like, and then we used to do stuff like this. We come down the steps. My dad be down there watching TV. We'll sit right next to him. He'd be smoking a cigarette. He'll let you watch a whole show too, just be like 30 minutes, and then he'd look right at you and be like, "What you doing down here?" I don't even know. I don't even know. You know what I mean? And then he be like in a good mood. He just be like, "Hey, y'all too, come here. Y'all going outside. I don't want to see y'all no more." He just be like, "Pew."
Oh, hell no. My mum would never do that. If you was grounded, which means you're not allowed outside, you was grounded. Now, I'm not going to front. I probably in my whole entire life maybe I think I was grounded once, if anything. I knew, because I had an older sister, I knew, mate, I'm towing that line.
I'm gonna tell you right now, my sisters got away with murder. I'm gonna tell you now. The boys in the family always got it. And then as we got older, I'll never forget my dad was like, he stopped spanking us and just start haul off and punching you just like boom, bop. And I'll never forget me and my brother was arguing on our way to school. Like, we were packing our lunches. My dad was like, "Shut that mess up down there." And I was like, "See, you got us started." He was like, "No, it was you." And then we started all over again. He came down them steps and was like, "Look, I got boys in this house. I ain't got, y'all sound like two cackling women." Boop bop. I was just like, "Oh, he's coming towards me." Bop bop. I had like mayonnaise and my bread was coming down. But I think nowadays, with the way the world is, I think parents now have to tread lightly, and I don't see why.
Hmm.
And I think they promote that whole, don't discipline your children. And I feel like, each generation is different. I'm not saying that I'm against not disciplining your child. I think it's you gotta discipline uh the crime, you know what I mean? The discipline has to fit the crime. Like, for instance, when my kids got older, when they started doing dumb stuff, then, I started doing dumb stuff with them, like taking their game away, or I started taking their phones away.
Do you
Because
think
we didn't have phones and video games back then. So it was like,
do you think taking away stuff has more of an impact than clipping them on the backside?
like I said, it has to fit the crime. Like, if I'm going to keep taking your phone and you just think, "Oh, you can have my phone, forget it." Oh, okay then. All right, have your phone. How about you get this belt? The next thing you know, they be like, "Forget that." You know what I mean? Forget that. But I feel like um as they get older, and I hope that as my kids get older, they'll start to see that, disciplining them was the right thing to do.
Mm.
Because like I can knock on wood, my kids never saw inside of a jail cell,
Mm-hmm.
never been suspended from school. They both had really fairly good grades. You know what I mean? My sons participated in sports. Like, my kids were never to the point to where like they were out of control. They did teenage boy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I'm kind of thankful that, yes, I did discipline them, not all the time, but sometimes it was necessary. You know what I mean? So I'm hoping that when my kids get older and they have their own kids, I hope that they take something in head and be like, dang, now I see why my dad did what
Yeah,
he.
no, I'm not gonna lie. My grandma was German, right? So she was very, very strict. And at the time when I was growing up, I used to think, oh my God, she's so mean. She's always mean to us. Like if me and my sister would come here, if we were bickering like you and your brother, she wouldn't even say anything. She'd just come up behind you, grip you around the back of the neck, and bang your head together, like gunk. So literally, yeah,
Oh,
just yeah, exactly. And that she'd be like, I don't want to hear any of that gunk, and that'd be it. Then she'd be gone. So then you'd be like, oh, but obviously you'd stop bickering, but she was really strict. You couldn't eat unless you were in the kitchen. You had to sit you had to sit on the floor. You had to take your shoes off. Your feet weren't allowed on the couch. All this. It was always rules. But looking back now, she wasn't mean. She was just, like,
she's just teaching. It's it's
yeah,
it's it's part to me. I feel like discipline is just a part of it's just a way of life, and it's a part of teaching, your kids. Because as my kids got older, I I rarely had to like discipline them because they kind of knew what made daddy upset. They kind of knew. And then I was more as they got older, I think they got tired of just hearing my voice because I was more of a lecturer as they got older. Because the simple fact of the matter is sometimes you get to a point where the kids are too old to be spanking them. You know what I mean? So you got more or less teach them more. You got to more or less talk to them more so they can get it. You know what I mean?
mhm.
And like I said, discipline has to fit the crime. That's why I feel about discipline.
Okay. So
Punishment,
I
the
got
belt, yada yada yada. I ain't never spanked my children without letting them know, hey, now I done told you. Now you just kept doing what you thought you wanted to do. Now I'm gonna have to show you what's going down. And then after that, it was over. Like I never like spanked them and then put them on punishment. You either got one or the other.
okay. So I got one last question for you. If you
Mhm.
could go back before having children and tell give your younger self one piece of advice about parenting, what would it be?
Mm. Like knowing what I know now and then going back to my
Mhm.
younger self, I think have a little more patience. Have a little more patience because when you have children, each child is different. Like you have just one, I mean, unfortunately, you know what I mean? But I have like four, and each soul is different. So you gotta learn how to be patient. Like my oldest is totally different than my youngest. My youngest is way different than my oldest. And so I wish my younger self had more patience.
Do you know the funny thing is, it's funny how everybody is totally different because me, the only thing I've got patience for is kids. Like I worked in a nursery, I was a nanny, so I've had multiple, although I've only got one here now, I've looked after multiple children at any one time.
Mhm.
Children is the only thing I have patience for. Traffic, no. Waiting for something, oh no. But kids is the only thing I have most amount of patience for. It's funny.
Now I've dealt with youth all my life, but I really feel like it's different when you have your own.
Mm.
You know what I mean? It's totally different. Like I had nieces and nephews, and they loved me to death when they were younger. You know what I mean? But then when I had my own, I looked at my nieces and nephews totally different. Like, and then when I had my own, it was kind of like they're mine. You know what I mean? I'm their world, they're my world. You know what I mean? Like they know I was pit bull. If something was going, I remember when my son was playing basketball, he look up in the bleachers and I just be like, and then we get in the car and I just be like, do you need me to talk to the coach? Because I will talk to the coach. He'd be like, nah, dad, don't do it. Because he knows I used to go off. Even my youngest had a learning disability, and his teacher gave me the business on the email. I said, you got the wrong one. And I tagged the principal and I said, I'll be there tomorrow. And my son was just like, Dad, you went in on them. Because, like you said, when your kids are young, you're their voice.
Exactly. And I have no doubt Alfie's teacher now and his teacher for the last 4 years probably cannot stand me. And they probably say, oh God, her again. But you know what? I do not care. When you're gonna lose my son's clothes, his coat, he comes home, you're letting a kid bite him every day. He's not happy in class. Hell, do you know what? I'm gonna be the one that finds out the reason why, and I'm gonna be there until you get it sorted. Unless it gets sorted, I'm gonna be there every day. And you know what? I don't care. And as much as I always say to them, "Oh, you must really hate me," and they're like, "Oh no, we'd much rather you say, hell yes, I'm going to say, and I'm going to keep saying, like I said, till my son finds his voice, I will be his voice."
I'm gonna tell you right now, teachers and principals are scared of me because I ain't played that. My biggest thing when it came to parenting, when it came to school, is was totally different from my father. My father is like a baby genius, and like he graduated school early. He don't have to study for a test. He can read one time and take a test and pass it. And I was never that kid. And my dad was never that type of parent that like was really hard on you. He was just more or less like, I got mine, now you need to get yours. And that was it. And like, I could not do homework for weeks, and he'd be like, hey man, you do homework? I'd just be like, yes sir. He'd be like, okay. And then when report card come, he'd be like, dude, are you on drugs? Are you doing, what are you doing? You know what I mean? But me, on the other hand, I was like, yo, I was on top of it. Like, I need to know what's going on. Like, and teachers used to get mad at me, especially when it was like that one class where they just sat in the class for the whole day. I need to know what your game plan from the time my son gets here to the time he leaves, because I don't want my son to ever come to me and say, oh, well, we had this and that. No, you didn't, because I know exactly what you do from the time you get there to the time you leave. And my sons used to hate it, but when it was parent teacher conference came, they went right along with me. And I used to tell them, before we get out the car, is there anything I need to know before I go up in here? Because when I go up in here, I'm 100% you. I got your back 100%. So please don't have me in here looking like Boo Boo the fool. So my sons be like, ain't nothing going on. Or before we get in there, they get to crying, but I was doing this and that. And I'm like, okay, well then good. Because now I ain't in there talking about, well, look here, y'all jumping on my son for this and that. And then they open up their grade book, be like, well, how about this and this and this? And then I'm looking at him like, dang, dude, you got me looking like a sucker, yo.
But I mean, I said from day one of Alfie going to school, I'm never missing anything. A sports day, a nativity play at Christmas, a parent teacher day, parents evening, whatever. I'm missing everything. And maybe that's the beauty of working for yourself. You can work around those things. But I'm telling you, even if I had a job and worked for someone, oh hell no, I'm finishing early today because my child's got sports day. I'm never missing anything from my son. I'm telling you that much.
Yeah.
But
I enjoyed watching my son play ball. I
we
enjoyed my sons doing all kinds of stuff. And I think as a parent, because we're about to let this go, because this is a 3-parter, people.
we tell that in a minute. Finish the story.
But I think as parents, I think we really need to support our children in whatever they hearts desire.
Okay.
My son was into drawing. My oldest boy, he'll be 25. My oldest stepson, and he can draw with his eyes closed. And I remember when he was really small, man, and we just pushed him. He made t-shirts for the school for a grade. Like, this dude is gifted. And then I turn around, Ryan was right up there with him, drawing his, we bought him paints and chalk. And, I think it's really good for us to support our children when they have goals and desires.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna be Alfie's #1 fan, whatever he chooses.
Like my son, my oldest, Rich, he wants to be a model and an actor. I seen his little actor reel now. He's like, he'll be 21 in a couple months. He's got an actor reel. He's modeling. He's doing all these little things, and I'm proud of him. You know what I mean? Go for it, son.
I'll be their #1 fan. And the annoying thing I think with Alfie is because he's autistic, if I had £1 for every time someone said to me, what's his special talent? Because normally it's numbers or this or that. And I'm just like, oh, go away. But like you said, we could talk about this all day, and it is going to be a 3-parter for the simple fact is there's a whole big section on like homeschooling that we haven't even touched on, especially with like lockdown and stuff at the moment. So we're going to have we're going to give you a little spoiler. We're going to have a couple of people come in over the next couple of weeks. One is a teacher, so we can hear what is it like from a teacher's point of view as regards to homeschooling and the effect it's had on children. And then we're going to actually have a young person to tell us what it's like from a kid's point of view. Because let's be honest, we can sit here and talk about what it's like to be a parent, what it was like for us as a child, but what is it like in these crazy times? Like, God, could you imagine getting homeschooled by your own parents? My mom would have talked about strict. Boy, we would have been at that table for 6 hours straight, mate, and you would not be able to leave until you'd done your work.
Me, I'd probably still be there a little longer because I couldn't stand school.
Exactly.
I'd probably be the one that be crying. I'd probably be that one kid be at the table like this. I don't know.
Listen, you wouldn't be the only one. I would be across the pond crying at the table too, and my mum would still not care, and she would not let me leave until it was finished.
Yeah, and then a lot of kids are missing out on a lot of stuff too, like prom and school dances and
socializing, just everyday socializing. I know that I'm getting cabin fever, not speaking to people, seeing people, so God knows what it must be like for them.
Well, anyway, people, we're gonna have to cut this short because I really enjoyed this convo, but this is Soph.
This is Rich.
And we are from across the pond.
I haven't.
I've been Friday, girl.
Conversation
that Friday.
I forgot to play our jingle. I mean, how is that possible? I was so into the conversation. So
because I was told not to tell you anymore about it. So
you was told to tell me what?
I was told not to remind you about it. We're just gonna play it. Don't remind you. So I thought you already had it keyed up. That's it. Holler at me if you're ready to go. Across the pond with Rich and Soph. Holler at me if you're ready to go. Across the pond with Rich and Soph. Holler at me if you're ready to go. Across the pond with Rich and Soph. Holler at me if you're ready to go. Across the pond with Rich and Soph. All right.
Have a lovely week, Rich.
Peace.
Get it right. Don't do it the rude way.